I have two brief questions I'd like to ask, if I may. When you were carrying out that incredible moonwalk, did you find that the surface was equally firm anywhere, or were there harder and softer spots that you could detect? And secondly, when you looked up at the sky, could you actually see the stars and the solar corona in spite of the glare?
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon by eye without looking through the optics. I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar corona what stars we could see. I don't remember seeing anything.
9 steps are what you take walking on the moon. I hope my legs don't break walking on.
This time I'd like to introduce the Apollo 11 crew. Astronauts Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin.
Bob, what the hell you doing? What the fuck does Stanley Kubrick have to do with astronauts and movement? Who the hell you fooling? Fuck you and this whole stupid flat earth movement. Well, you don't like assuming if it's science proven. You a college student, shouldn't be assuming green screen, soundstage, soundproofing. Time to film a movie shoot. Gotta use my tools in a glass case, astronaut suit, footprint don't match the boot. Been to the moon once and ain't been back since. And I'm just trying to figure out where the tax dollars went. NASA.
You want me to knock you in the head? Well, I want you to swear to God on the Bible that you walked on the moon. Okay. If you walked on the moon, we're given the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you so we can get along.
I tomorrow another day. You stay walking on.
Well, I take your stuff and get the fuck out.
Not a huge fan of the award for the best rapper, but they give the Moon Man award to the best actor. Guess we must go straight to the source. Let's ask NASA. How do you explain the occurrence of lunar waves? Why do we only see one half of the lunar face? How do you explain air bubbles you view in space? Why is it so important to lie to the human race? Million-mile internet that travels light years, but they can show a space shuttle re-enter the atmosphere. Okay, to blast off, you gotta practice Freemasonry, an acronym that stands for not a space agency.
Some may say I'm wishing my days away. No way. And if it's the price I pay, some say tomorrow's another day. You stay walking on the moon.
And put your hand on the Bible. Swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Cybro, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight.
When the shadows in the wrong place, I don't give a damn about all that shit.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon? Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
I'm not trying to get in the middle of anything.
You tell him to get out of here.
This is a hotel.
We'll call the
So
police.
You cannot
We pay.
solicit.
Come on in here, we'll call the police.
Solicit
You like that?
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
It doesn't, sir, I don't have nothing to do with this, but
Okay.
you cannot solicit on this property.
We just paid to rent out the penthouse to shoot up there. So
You can't solicit like this on this property.
keep shooting.
All right, well, then I'd go through my measures.
You got to keep shooting, man. Okay, well, you can put it on your shoulder. Don't be shy.
Just come with me, Buzz.
You really like attention, don't you?
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief. And a thief. And a thief. Mr. Armstrong, Bart Sibrel, ABC Digital. wanted to give you the opportunity to swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon. Will you put your left hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Gentlemen. Mr. Seibel.
Yes? If you really walked on the moon, why would you not do that? So why don't you just put the end to the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Seibel, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Really? Well, no, it's a real Bible. You have the opportunity to have $5,000.
The meeting is not open.
Well, you have $5,000 cash. You can give it to charity if you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon.
Please
I have the
give it to
tape.
charity. It'd be fine.
Why don't you swear to... Why not? Why won't you do it? So why don't you put your hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Mr. Seibel has made a fool of himself in front of the world. Mr. Seibel, you do not deserve answers.
You want me to knock you in the head?
Well, I want you to swear to God on the Bible that you walked on the moon.
Okay.
If you walked on the moon, we're given the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you if you don't leave me alone.
Talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator in NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight.
I don't hit people, but you're going to be on the deck unless you get
I'm heading out. I appreciate it.
and get the hell out of my house.
Well,
Take your stuff and get the fuck out. Why don't you quote me and say it's bullshit?
The shadows in the wrong place. I don't give a damn about all that shit.
You're full of shit.
Of lunar orbit being falsified.
Being falsified?
Correct. We got an unedited tape from a source at the Johnson Space Center.
Totally nonsense.
Mr. Seibel, you do not deserve answers.
If you show this publicly, you're open for a lawsuit. Okay?
Commander, a few days ago we saw a beautiful moon from the Earth. Beautiful red moon. You were closer, 400 kilometers closer. Did you watch and what was the experience of the moon since there?
Well, on that particular day of the lunar eclipse, unfortunately, where it was occurring with regards to basically our sky and where our windows are located, we really couldn't see it from the space station. Plus, it was in the middle of the night, so those two reasons why we didn't see it. But in general, you know, the moon and the Earth and the stars are very, very beautiful to see from here, and you know, it's something we enjoy looking at, certainly. why we didn't see it. But in general, you know, the moon and the Earth and the stars are very, very beautiful to see from here, and you know, it's something we enjoy looking at, certainly.
Flown in it previously, you'll try to prepare you for it, but I think nothing really can until you've actually, you know, been there yourself and experienced it. It's you know, it's definitely an eye opener, and you know, once you get past the initial
How long are you up this time?
Well, this time it's going to be close to a year, not exactly a year. We launched on March 28th, and we're going to land on March 2nd. So it's I haven't done the math. I'm trying not to keep track of the days, but it's about 340, I think.
You've been in space longer than any other NASA astronaut, all right? Everybody is sucking your dust or whatever you have in space. I guess it's not dust. Your meteorites.
Well, that is true that I have spent the most time in space for now, but there will be people that will beat me, I'm sure, in the future. So these records are made to be broken.
Did you have the foresight to enroll in a frequent flyer club before you went up there? Because I understand you've traveled 148 million miles. That's got to be an upgrade to the Sky Club.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Stage pushed. Engine arm is ascent. Okay, I'm going to get the pro. 99, proceeded. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Right away, Houston. Revs are good. Ag sought. Pitch over.
Roger, you have good thrust.
Okay, 30 seconds. 308 your number. Okay, coming through 1,500 feet, and H-dot looks good. Proceeded. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Right away, Houston. Revs are good. Ag sought.
We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
Solid rocket boosters kicking in.
25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
This shuttle mission will launch, my God.
1 minute 15
There's been an explosion.
Velocity 2,900 feet per second, altitude 9 nautical miles, downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
This is not standard. This is not something that is planned, of course. I can see a solid rocket booster has broken away from Shuttle Challenger. That's what you're looking at in the middle of your screen. I cannot see the shuttle itself.
In 1986, the Shuttle Challenger exploded about 74 seconds after takeoff, killing all 7 astronauts inside. Or did it? It turns out that 6 of the 7 are still alive and kicking today. Ellison Onizuka claims to be his identical twin brother, Claude. Yeah, I've got an identical twin brother, Claude, too. The Challenger pilot, Mickey Smith, hasn't even bothered changing his name. He's now Professor Michael J. Smith of University of Wisconsin. Now, Krista McAuliffe was a bit of a sneaky one. She was the Challenger payload specialist, quite famous for being a teacher. It turns out during her astronaut days she was using her middle name, Krista, and now she goes by her first name, Sharon, and she's a Syracuse law professor. The Challenger commander, Francis Richard Scobie, is now Dick Scobie, CEO of Cows in Trees Limited. Judith Resnick, the Challenger mission specialist, again hasn't even bothered changing her name. She's a professor at Yale Law. And finally, Ronald McNair, another Challenger mission specialist, claims to be his identical twin brother, Carl McNair. What are the odds?
Part of the team, even though she was not a trained astronaut.
She knows where we're going to be standing, how busy it's going to be, where she can help, where we need our space, and she has learned an awful lot and become a team
weird lady with scale and swords and blindfolds, or Grecian goddess, or warrior princess, or whatever it is. What makes it legible? And so one of the questions in the book is to puzzle about both its history and the legibility of this, which is a marker, and of course this local county court.
Welcome to Feed Your Mind. So, with this evidence of the space shuttle that blew up, the Challenger space shuttle from 1986, well, you just saw live footage of it blowing up and the astronauts dying. And I even have statements from NASA on how the crew died. If you go to NASA's website, nasa.gov, you will be able to look up an article called Remembering the Challenger Crew. And it was last updated just in 2015, actually, and they'll provide you the evidence that the crew died. And it says that the NASA family lost 7 of its own on the morning of January 28th, 1986, when a booster engine failed, causing the Shuttle Challenger to break apart just 73 seconds after launch. And then it goes on to name off the members of the space shuttle who died. And you can see their faces and their names, and then you match that up with the faces and names that people have found recently. And they've discovered pretty much the whole crew. So now we have NASA confirmation that the crew has died, and yet we have the evidence that the crew is still alive. So you might ask yourself, what was actually going on there? And it's quite obvious that nobody rides on space shuttles. On those rockets that von Braun, the Nazi scientist, created to make believable rockets that were big enough to fool the public that these machines were taking people into outer space. But it turns out nobody dare wants to ride on one of those rockets. Those are unmanned rockets and unmanned space shuttles. Nobody is flying into outer space. It's just a show. So all those times when people were watching these rocket launches on TV, this one didn't go as planned. which is probably part of the reason why they decided to cancel out the space shuttle missions. Why would you quit the shuttle program? Now it's starting to make sense because they don't want to risk faking stuff like that anymore. That's why they stopped, because nobody was on those shuttles and it was just too risky to continue to pull off year after year. You know, that was about it for them. It was time. Nobody was on those shuttles the whole time. Turns out people were gathering around, taking their families to watch the space shuttle launch. It was just propaganda. Nobody was in those shuttles. At this point, it's time for the remaining globe earthers to start really looking into this flat earth stuff. This is the video that you can't really defend. I mean, NASA said they died. Turns out they're not dead. What's left but to conclude that nobody rides space shuttles into outer space? All that money we've been spending on NASA, and we got all these social issues that we could have been solving for these years. Instead, NASA's been taking our money and putting on a theatrical show for us. This is definitely proof that nobody's been to space. And then you add this with CNN just recently slipping that, oh yeah, nobody's been to space in 40 years. All of the overwhelming evidence that no one's been to the moon, all the phony CGI images of the Earth, all those pictures that everybody thought was real. Day after day, there's the latest space news about Mars and all this stuff. It's just to keep you set on a lie. You know, because I keep getting the question, why did they fake space? Part of the reason is because they wanted you to believe that you used to be an animal, an accident that evolved. Everything's just some big accident and life has no meaning to it.
An old reel received by mistake. It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for nearly an hour in living color, with exceptionally clear behind-the-scenes audio of conversations discussing the techniques used to achieve a disingenuous picture depicting the Earth at a distance, in order to falsely demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts.
This is what the radiation looks like.
It cannot be misconstrued that this staging was done for some other reason prior to the mission, for the reel itself is slated and dated July 18th, 19th, and 20th, 1969, the very days of the mission when they were said to be approaching and achieving lunar orbit. Furthermore, it is apparent they are in genuine zero gravity aboard the actual spacecraft, necessary to convince the mass media of their authenticity, just not any further than Earth orbit, as you will see. In this never-before-seen or heard footage, not only is the radio conversation between the astronauts and Houston Control audible, there is a secondary, private conversation taking place between the crew and a third confidential party, prompting the astronauts with what to say, when to speak, and how to effectively manipulate the camera to achieve the desired misleading effect. NASA claims that the Houston transmissions were the only ones taking place with the astronauts. Listen now as Houston Control initiates a conversation with the crew, only to find them too preoccupied with the behind-the-scenes trickery to respond. Moments pass and the oversight is picked.
You people keep saying, how can all these people you're looking at be involved in this? They don't know what's going on. Like Bart Sabrell has told you people, they are only watching TVs and monitors, buttons and lights and stuff. They don't know what's going on. They're not in that space capsule. They don't know where it's going. They're only told where it's going. They only know that it went there and it's back. They can't do nothing about it. And all this tracking and stuff people talked about, there's reasons why all that's in there. Watch this whole film and you'll understand those reasons. They're not going to be seen in this video right now.
Picked up on by the clandestine third party, who quickly prompts them with talk. Immediately, Neil Armstrong speaks.
Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger. We're dropping in on
Again, the illusion they are attempting to create is the Earth at a...
I mean, how far they got to be for Earth to be that small, looking away? They took you for idiots.
distance to demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. Understand, too, that only about 20 seconds of this raw footage was ever broadcast to the public, and these conversations discussing their deception were believed to be private until now. Here they discuss that these television transmissions were in fact not broadcast live as everyone believed. They were first screened and edited for playback later.
Roger, Neil. We just wanted a narrative such that we can, when we get to playback, we can sort of correlate what we were seeing. Thank you very much.
Here they discuss the fact that they have turned out the lights and have blocked out sunlight from entering the spacecraft through the other windows as to not cause any reflected light to fall onto the spacecraft's wall in the foreground.
Okay, very good. Well, we shut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number one window, and there isn't any reflected light.
The reason this was done is so that the truth of the matter would not be revealed. It is this. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft appearing to be the blackness of space around it. That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from entering through the other windows. Here you can see the extruded window, probably 2 inches thick at the bottom. This is because the Earth's shine is coming in at a downward angle. It also causes the Earth to appear to be an irregularly shaped circle, for you are seeing the outside of the window at the bottom and the inside of the window at the top, which together form 2 different sized halves of a circle. Subsequently, this take was never used. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. During this segment, intended to be edited and played back later for the worldwide television audience, dated July 18th, 1969, Neil Armstrong condemns himself as he states that he is 130,000 miles out, or halfway to the moon, as the NASA flight log also states on this date, when he is in reality in low Earth orbit of a few hundred miles.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Here, during another segment, also intended to air after review, Neil Armstrong falsely explains to the viewers how the shot is attained by putting the camera's lens to the window's glass, as it would have to be if they were the claimed distance away from the Earth.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with a TV camera.
If the window was completely filled up with a TV camera, as he stated, then an astronaut's arm would not be able to get between the camera and the window, as it obviously does here in this outtake.
South America becomes invisible just off beyond the Terminator or inside the shadow.
You can also notice how the astronaut operating the camera reacted to the mistake by attempting to pan away from it.
Blue gas, see white bands of major cloud formations across the Earth.
This is what I mean when I say you can see it from the
This is a segment that they believed wasn't even being recorded, much less suitable for broadcast, for the lens was being zoomed out and the scene was being changed to that of an interior of the astronauts at work, and apparently the stop button popped back up on the recorder without notice. Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Here they remove part of the crescent insert.
You keep pressing it. Who knows?
Finally, the iris is opened up and you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window. And the very bright and near...
What is that blue right there? I mean, what does that look like to you? It looks like the ocean, doesn't it? Well, I mean, they're halfway to the moon. Did you see how small the Earth was just a minute ago? Wouldn't be that big now.
Near Earth out.
Now look at that big light. What's that? Well, that's Earth. It's getting the more reflection off of it. The window's opened up now.
The window. Here is the slate for the 19th of July. And the same shot of trickery on the 19th of July. And then the 20th. And the same misleading shot on the 20th. Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. How can this be when they were in Earth?
Do you see any cameras there looking at them walking on the moon? They're looking at something else.
Orbit only 9 hours earlier, and the moon is some 3 days' journey away.
Well, that would be their camera looking at it. Okay, it's a black and white image, but...
Furthermore, if they genuinely went to the moon, why would they be faking any part of it? Why this trickery with the window? By faking being halfway to the moon, it becomes apparent that they did so because they could not even go halfway. It thus confirms that the stumbling block to their success was the lethal radiation of the Van Allen radiation belts.
No way!